So the algebra 1A, this is where you had them out in the hallway, so they'll just go out to where they've been, or are they going?
They're going to stay in here and they
Okay.
just have the worksheet.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's the worksheet. Okay.
Okay, ladies, so I am recording this morning. I'm going to move through this pretty quickly just because you can pause, you can go back. So we're just going to run through this as fast as I can. I am doing this in the morning, so if people come in or you hear other voices, that's just because they're coming in and out of the room. So we're going to do 7.3, power to power property. Hopefully you should have a piece of loose leaf out to kind of write down notes, and then you will have your worksheet after you watch the video to work on. Okay, so what we did the other day is what we talked about was actually writing out what exponents mean, and then we figured out what the shortcut or what the rule is. So in this case, if I had x to the third raised to the fifth power, what this would actually mean with the fifth power would be x to the third times x to the third 5 times, right? And then we know from previous lesson, if it's multiplication, we can go ahead and add all those together. So 3 plus 3 plus 3 5 times would be x to the 15th. Okay. All right, for the next one, a little bit more complicated. It's whatever's inside the parentheses 3 times. So this would be 2 x to the third y squared multiplied 3 times. And then we would be back to basically a question from the other day. The 2's we're just going to multiply together. They are, actually, I would ask you in class, are they the same base? Which they are, in fact, the same base. So you could actually go ahead and do 2 to the third power. The x's are going to combine together. They have the same base. So we're going to add the exponents. So 3 plus 3 plus 3. X to the 9th, and then we have y to the second, y to the second, y to the second, so that would be y to the 6th power. Okay, so again, if we were in class, I would ask you kind of what is the shortcut here? Kind of looking at it. So what's the relationship of what's happening with the exponents here to get to 15? So hopefully you notice that they are being multiplied together. So if you have an exponent to an exponent or a power to a power, you are going to multiply the exponents. Okay. Now, I do want to point something out here. So in the second example, 2, I kind of wrote it in the example, but this is 2 to the first, x to the third, y to the second. So again, the shortcut is to multiply all of the exponents. I want you to emphasize, because a lot of students, when we talk about this, they say that this is distributive property. This is not the distributive property. Because this is going to become an issue next lab if you think that. So because distributive property is over addition or subtraction, okay? We are multiplying all of these. So this would be 2, 1 times 3 would be 3, x, 3 times 3 would be 9, y, 2 times 3, and we'd end up getting the same answer there, okay? Yesterday, the bases matter. For this case, they can be, as long as you have a power to a power, doesn't have to be the same base. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to briefly look at these examples. So again, if you're wanting to write them down, I would just hit pause in the video. But I'm going to kind of jump right in. So I have a power to a power. So I'm going to multiply this together. 6 times a half, which would be the same thing as dividing by 2. So this would be x to the third.
Can I set up my calendar?
I'm in the middle of the lesson, so if you want to come by tomorrow, that would work better.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, now ladies, for the next one, so in the first one, we only had one factor. I say factors when we have multiplication. I would ask you in class how many factors we have. Meaning we have a -3, right? That would be one thing. And then we would have x. Okay. So again, I would ask you, what's the exponent on -3? Would be 1. The exponent on x would be would be 1. And then we're going to multiply those exponents. Now, you need to be careful especially with the coefficients. I need you to put them in parentheses, mainly because this is going to help you make sure you have the same power, or the correct sign at the end. So this is -3 to the 4th, and this is x to the 4th, okay? Because you want -3 times -3 times -3 times -3 4 times, okay? So hopefully you have your calculators with you. I believe we've done exponents before. Okay, so again, if you miss the parentheses, you're not going to get the correct sign, because really I think we've talked about this before, but what this is doing in your calculator is they're thinking this is a -1. So they're going to do 3 to the 4th power first, and then times by -1. It's going to put the parentheses where they think you want them, but you need to make sure to put the parentheses in so you tell the calculator correctly what you want. You want -3 4 times. So that's why the parentheses matter, okay? Okay, so that would be 81 if you needed to kind of any higher powers. Go ahead and evaluate these. I know yesterday I said not to evaluate these, but I think you can start evaluate them on your homework. And then we're going to just have x to the 4th. All right. Example 3, what's different is we've always had multiplication in here. You have to be careful because we actually have a subtraction sign here. So far we haven't talked about what rules are with subtraction or what happens when you have subtraction. But this right here is just a more complicated base. So I don't even want you to touch that. We're going to rewrite that base. So this is 5x minus 2. And then what you're going to do is you're going to multiply the exponents. Okay. So 2 times 4 would be 8. So I need you to keep it like that. 4x minus 2 to the 8th power. This is what we're going to focus on next lab. So it's a little bit of an introduction into next lab. Okay, so now what we're going to do, so we just focused on power to power just a second ago. These examples now combine both rules. They combine the product property and the power to the power property. Okay, now let's talk about order of operations real quick. So the power property we talked about was multiplication, and we know what to do with the exponent, so that's right here. A power to a power means this is basically an exponent, right? So even though we are having these rules, we actually need to follow order of operations with these types of expressions that we have. So you actually have to do the power property first and then do the product property. That's again, following order of operations, exponents, then multiplication, okay? So I would ask yourself when you first look at these questions, do you have power to a power? And you do, and actually both of these. And again, what I would do is I would go through your expression. So how many factors do we have in the first one? So we have 1, 2, 3. And I would put the 1 up on the b so you don't forget the b exponent. In the second one, we have b squared. C to the first. Okay. So with the first group, we are going to multiply 4 by everything. So this would be A to the 8th, B to the 4th, C to the 12th. Okay. Next, we would have, we're going to multiply the 3. So 2 times 3 would be 6. And then C, 1 times 3 would be 3. Okay. So we are now at a question that we had last lesson, where we have just all multiplication here. Okay, so we're going to simplify anything that has the same base. There's no other A, so I'm going to bring down A to the 8th, B to the 4th, and B to the 6th. We're going to add the exponents, B to the 10th. And then we have C to the 12th, C to the 3rd, so C to the 15th. Okay. All right, next one. We do have a power property right here, and then there's nothing out here, so we don't necessarily have to worry there. Okay. So in the first one, we have a -2, and we have x. So again, go ahead and put your exponents there. Okay, again, you need to be very careful with the coefficients. I need you to put parentheses around it. So this is -2. 1 times 2 would be 2. X, 1 times 2 to the second. And then I'm just going to bring down -x squared. Okay. All right. So what I need you to do is I need you to evaluate this first before you can go any further. So -2 times -2, 4x squared, and times -x squared. Okay. Now we have coefficients here. So we have 4 times -1. So that would be a -4. And then we have our exponents here. They are the same base of x squared and x squared. So we are then going to go ahead and add the exponents, so x to the 4th. Okay. All right, next one. All right, so we have a couple of power rules here. So we have a 2 outside here, a 4 outside here, and a 2 outside. Okay. Now, this one's going to be a little bit more challenging, mainly because I need you to put the -1s here. Okay, remember, mathematicians are really lazy. They just put the negative sign, so you need to, especially in this example, you might even want to do it up above in the other example, just to kind of remind you, this is going to matter, especially with the power rule here. So in the first question, or in the first kind of grouping that we have here, I again would ask, how many factors do we have? So we have a -1, and we have x, right? And both of them have an exponent of 1. So you need to multiply 2 to both of those exponents. Common mistake, people miss the -1. Okay, so we're going to see why that matters here in a second. Okay, so again, I need parentheses, -1. Okay, then 1 times 2 would be 2. X, 1 times 2, x to the second. Okay, real quickly, what's -1 times -1? Hopefully you would say 1. This would be 1x squared. Okay, so this is why it matters, because this -1 turned to a positive. If you didn't do it correctly, you would still end up with a negative, which would throw off your answer. All right, next thing. So it's going to be very similar for the second part. We have 2 factors, -1 and y squared. So -1, 1 times 4 would be 4. Y to the 8th. Okay, -1 times -1 times -1 times -1 is again going to end up being a +1. Y to the 8th. And then we got that last grouping. 1 here, 1 here. Get a little bit of music. x squared, y squared, y to the 10. Oh, sorry, z to the 10. So I'm going to just bring that down. So multiplying the numbers together, that would just be 1, so I'm not going to necessarily write it. Then multiply, x squared and x squared gives us x to the 4th, y to the 8th, y to the 2nd, y to the 10th, and then there's no other z, so z to the 10th. Okay, so ladies, there will be a couple questions of scientific notation. I want you to attempt those. I think there's about 4 of them. I think you should be able to figure them out, but if not, we'll talk about it next time I see you.